I think that all got built into a fantastical story in my mind, that if things got really bad, there was a way out, and sort of that seed was planted.
Hey there, my name is Sean, and this is Suicide Noted. On this podcast, I talk with suicide attempt survivors and ideators so that we can hear their stories. Every year around the world, millions of people try to take their own lives, and still, we don't talk much about it at all. And when we do talk about it, when we do engage with people in pain, most of us are not very good at it. In fact, most of us are really bad at it. So one of my goals with this podcast is to have more conversations, and hopefully better conversations with survivors, in large part to help more people in more places hopefully feel a little less shitty and a little less alone. Now, if you are an attempt survivor or ideator and you'd like to talk, please reach out. It's real simple, and I'd love to talk with you. hello@suicidenoted.com. You can learn more about this podcast right on Apple, Spotify, at our website, suicidenoted.com. We've been making some changes there, so it's pretty simple and straightforward right now, but soon enough you will see 2 new pages. One will be about speaking. I have a presentation I'm working on called The Silence Paradox, and the other is institutional licensing. I'll share more about that with you all soon. Remember, we've got a weekly poll on Spotify, and of course, if you are on Apple, we would appreciate a rating, and of course 5 stars is the way to go, only if you think we've deserved it. If you're not going to give us 5 stars, I'd ask that you just don't leave a rating at all. The reason, it actually helps people find the podcast, and that's a hard thing to do, so that kind of thing helps. I appreciate it very much. Thank you for that, and thank you for listening. Keep in mind, we are talking about suicide on this podcast, as we've been doing since the summer of 2020. My guests and I, we don't hold back, and that is very intentional. So please know that before you listen or as you listen, but I do hope you listen because there is so much to learn. Today I am talking with Carrie again. It's an update episode. Carrie lives in Western Canada, and she is a suicide attempt survivor. Carrie, we meet again. We good to go?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, that's great.
A lot of people wish they couldn't hear me.
I'm happy to hear you.
How you been? You been to Greece or Croatia? What?
Yeah, I went to Greece. I went to Corfu. Mm-hmm.
What were you doing? You were just relaxing? Was it like a residency of some kind?
No, I was visiting my daughter. She moved there a couple years ago from Canada. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the big thing that people are concerned about in Canada, of course, is that we have universal health care, or
right, that's the other one.
We used to have universal health care. I don't even know what the F we have anymore here. Everything's changing.
Well, if you're in a cheap, poor country, then the healthcare isn't that expensive. So you just go out of pocket. Yeah. Unless you need brain surgery. I don't really know what it's like here in Mexico, so perhaps that time will come. Hopefully not sooner than later. Can we just do the Mexico City podcast?
Yeah.
Or the Mexico podcast, and then we don't talk about suicide, because stop just talking about suicide, because clearly no one gives a shit. I don't know most of what's going on. I don't know what most of the conversations are like. I don't know all the good and or bad work being done by human beings or large organizations or those in between. I basically know what I hear from my guests, what pops up on my social media feed, and here and there some other stuff. If you're judging me, not you, I actually don't give a fuck. I'm doing good work. I'm proud of it. So
yeah,
you're doing proof of that, because if I weren't doing good work, you sure as fuck wouldn't. I'm going to be cursing a little bit more than I usually do. I'll just tell you that right now.
I'm seeing the pattern.
we can edit. We can always edit it out. But I'll tell you right now, and I want people to know this, if I wasn't doing good work, the likelihood of Carrie showing up a year or two later talking to me, very low.
Yeah.
And the likelihood of Carrie showing up, Carrie lives in Canada, by the way, to some of our, at the time, it's been shelved, it may come back. We were doing these sort of like small group lives on, they were being streamed onto YouTube, that it wasn't actually on YouTube. It doesn't really matter. And these conversations around certain subjects. If you go to the YouTube channel, you'll see Carrie and you'll see her as part of some of these interesting conversations.
I really enjoyed those conversations. That was great.
And if I remember correctly, you even facilitated part or all of one of them.
That's right, because your mic went down.
And because I want people to do that. I just don't trust most people to do it. I'm not paying it forward by always controlling the fucking mic.
That was a really cool thing because you sprung it on me like
Yeah,
literally a
yeah, yeah.
minute.
Yeah, yeah. It was a tech issue, but I'm so glad it worked out that way.
Yeah, it was amazing. That was really good. That's so good for me because I've just had such a hard time having a voice in my life. And I mean, I can blame it on childhood trauma. There's easy places to sort of say, well, this happened to me when I was a kid,
Yeah.
but I also think it's a little bit about just about who I am, like my personality. I'm not out there in the world kind of person. I'm very, very, very introverted. You are way more extroverted than me, though. Like just even the fact that you are um, initiating conversations like this
Yeah.
is huge.
Yeah, I mean, right. No, no. Okay, sure. But I don't like people mostly, is what I mean.
Same.
That's really what I mean. Like, I don't like people.
I know. I
So
love that.
I can present as extroverted-ish, but it doesn't really mean I like people, meaning you get to the point where you think you're doing good enough work and you're bringing enough value to human beings who exist in the world, and you're poor. And I'm angry about it. I'm not fucking dumb. I know money doesn't grow on trees. I'm not an idiot. I know business models, for profit, nonprofit, other models. But like I'm exhausted, dude. Like spiritually,
Yeah.
I'm fucking exhausted. Granted, the alcohol didn't help last night, but still, I digress. It's
Mm,
tiring, and I love the work. Thanks for talking with me again.
yeah. Good to
We
see you.
we didn't talk just once because of what I shared with respect to the those small group meetings that we were live streaming. But back in early 2024, maybe even late 2023, early 2024, I want to read to you what I chose as the original or beginning blurb of your episode. Can I?
Hmm.
And here's what you said. So if you go back to Carrie's episode, which you can find in the show notes, it's early 2024. She says, if you lose your compassion in that field, you have nothing. The foundation of medicine is compassion. And if you don't have it anymore for anybody, no matter what they do, then what are you even doing there? Now, I could have chosen any number of blurbs. I just liked that one and I chose it. My question for you now, 2 years later, is do you feel the same way?
Oh, yeah. I feel it even more. It's more entrenched in me as we're watching all our systems crumble to the ground, medicine included. I think we're at such a pivotal place in like human evolution, to be honest. I think anything that we have thought of as an institution as sort of solid like medicine or treatment, healthcare, wellness in any way is going to cease to exist really soon. And it's because of the way that these systems have been set up. There's no way for compassion to even be part of the equation.
Not set up for that, right?
It's completely capitalistic and
Cool.
hierarchical,
Yeah.
corporate.
Yeah. Yeah. And people like sometimes go, oh, like, here we go again. But it's like, man, but it really is true.
Yeah, I'm not editing myself so much anymore and not like thinking
Good.
about, well, people are going to roll their eyes. I'm doing way less of that, and I'm really happy about it actually because I have like I was just saying to you a little earlier. I've always had such a hard time finding my voice, and it's because I was thinking about, well, what will other people say about these thoughts I'm having, and I'm just becoming more. For a little while I kind of had like a, I'll say anonymous, but not really anonymous, TikTok channel. And the whole purpose for my TikTok was just for myself to learn how to speak into.
Oh, wow.
Because I spend a ton of time, like I live alone, I'm single, I don't have a huge social group. I don't actually even see my family all that much. So
Right.
it's like the weirdest thing, but I actually don't speak very much. I write a lot. I paint a lot, and stuff. So I had this TikTok channel to just speak into something so that I could connect with my own voice because it's such a weird thing. Have you ever noticed how your verbal voice connects to a completely different part of your thought system, your psyche, your personality? Speaking is strange. anomaly that I sometimes almost feel like I don't have control over what is coming out of
Uh-huh.
my mouth. So anyway, that was I did this little experiment. I just deleted it. If the purpose of me having a TikTok channel was learning to find my voice, then editing words, it's just like then you can feel the wheels grinding again where you're saying unaliving
Ugh.
instead of dying or whatever. It's just so stupid where we are. And also when the app got sold to American interests, I didn't want to be a part of it anymore.
Do you want to do this in Spanish? Because I'm in Mexico.
I wish I could. Oh God. Okay, give me a year. We'll talk again.
Nah, even in a year, it's an awful episode, dude. Like, even that's on me as well. Here's what I want you to do. It's going to be hard. You ready? We talked 2 years ago. What are you in your 50s?
I am on the verge of turning 60.
All right, cool. So
I'm just about at the cusp.
So you got a really tough job, and I'm going to give you about 3 minutes to do it. If you go over, it's fine. No pressure. But the point is, it's not a book, and it's not a soliloquy, and it's not supposed to take a long time. Because if people want to hear your original episode, they can go do that. But I do want them to I want to implore them, I want to suggest that they do that, and also give them a little context for the update. So I want you to summarize your life from 0 to 58, which is when we talked originally. Good luck. And I just said that to somebody who rarely speaks.
Yeah.
I
I know
asked you
my
to,
mind is racing.
and I'm like, boom.
So yeah, I'll be turning 60 in August. I was born in Zambia because my Canadian parents were my dad's a geologist and he was working, he got a job in Zambia and my parents went there really, really young. And my sister and I were both born there. I'm the first oldest daughter. My mother was quite a violent alcoholic. My dad used to call her mercurial because she was just like up and down, erratic emotions and sometimes really, really violent and terrifying. And my dad was very absent. His father took his own life during the Second World War, which is such a big part of my story. It's always been a big part of my story, which you can hear the details of that in my first interview. I learned about that really, really young, probably in a way that was just not manageable for a child's mind. With my parents yelling at each other or something like that. And then there was this sort of he was like a ghost. My grandfather was like a ghost in our house. There was pictures of him everywhere in gilded frames and military uniform and stuff. So there was sort of this like sense of romanticization of his life and then the way he died. And I really, really internalized that as a child. And because I was a highly, highly sensitive, creative person who spent a lot of time in my mind, I think that all got built into a fantastical story in my mind that if things got really bad, there was a way out, and sort of that seed was planted. So from then on, I've now learned that the term is called passive suicidality or passive suicidal ideation. I've had that on a daily, nightly basis since I was probably, I don't know, like I'm going to say 5 years old. And so it's infiltrated into every aspect of my life. My first attempt was when I was about around 20. My first job, my parents had sent me away really, really young to, like, I live in the interior of British Columbia. So, and Victoria's on Vancouver Island. So it's kind of a big deal to get there. It's a long drive. There's a ferry ride. I was 17. I was by myself on this island. They signed me up to take hairdressing school because they said I was too stupid to do.
Hold up. You got to be smart to be a good hairdresser.
Right? Yeah. I mean, we could unpack that all day.
We can unpack that all fucking day, and I want to, but I won't.
Yeah. But that was the sentiment that I think because I was so internal and so kind of a creative, like kind of quirky. I've also recently learned that I was diagnosed as a baby with a condition called Ehlers-Danlos hypermobility, which they now know has comorbidities of neurodivergence like ADHD, different, things like that. I do believe that I'm on some sort of spectrum. And so there was all these factors that came into play for my parents kind of summing me up as being a problem. I was broken, I was a problem, I was disruptive, I was the sentiment. And my sister, by contrast, was the golden child. She was excellent at academics, she was on every sports team you can imagine. I couldn't play sports because my body hurt so much, and I was just kind of like, my joints are wobbly, everything's it was kind of like, layers of shame just built on built on built on built. I was quirky socially, so I didn't have a lot of friends, I never had a boyfriend.
Mhm.
I just wasn't normal. I wasn't a normal person. They sent me away. That was a hugely stressful year by myself in Victoria going to hairdressing school. This was in the mid-80s. A lot of people still smoked, and the hairdressing culture was rough. It's just such a, what's the word? Like a sort of sensitive, naive is the word I'm looking for. I was a very naive young person. So there I was, 17, 18, by myself around these really, really rough, street smart kind of people. Just such a fish out of water. My mom called me as my hairdressing program was finishing, and she said, "Your dad and I are getting divorced. You need to come home." Which was like, what do they need me for, really? It was just so strange. Like, I've been sort of an exile from this family. She sent me away to go to school because I'm too dumb to go to university. And now she wants me to come back and somehow solve this issue of my parents getting divorced. So there I was at home. So my first attempt was shortly after that. It's kind of, I actually feel embarrassed to even say it now, but I took a big bottle of aspirins thinking that that was going to be the thing too. They rushed me to emergency, pumped my stomach. I had to stay. And that was my first hospitalization, which was an absolute nightmare. And I think I went into detail when we talked before, so maybe I don't need to talk about that. But I was drugged by a psychiatrist, very small town hospital, very backwoodsy, a male psychiatrist who drugged me severely and had me sit in his office with the door closed, him smoking by myself with this strange man. It's so traumatizing. I can't even. So that was my first experience. I was in that hospital for a week. Like,
Mhm.
how crazy? That seems so crazy to me that I was there for a week in this situation. It boomeranged me back out into thinking, well, I better act normal now because that's a nightmare that I don't want to experience again. Yeah, I've sort of lost count, but I think that I've had 5 attempts, mostly overdosing.
How many hospital stays?
I think 4.
How many of them didn't suck?
They were progressively horrific. Incarceration, incarceration, being drugged, losing my rights. One time I was handcuffed.
I want the audience to know that Carrie lives in Canada. It's so liberal. It's so progressive. It's so this. It's so that. And it's like, yeah, maybe in some ways.
Yeah, a lot of that's a real false narrative. I mean,
Sure,
I'd
but
rather be right now. I'd rather be in Canada than in most places. So it's like nuanced, right? I'm grateful.
specifically talking about psych units and mental health facilities.
Yeah, I just think in general in the world we don't have a language for this issue, and we're living in the dark ages. Like
Yeah.
I'm going to university, which has been a really, really amazing, enlightening. It's been such an incredible thing to go to university. I've been going for 4 years. It's what I wanted to do when my parents sent me away to hairdressing school. I wanted to do art school. I dreamed of art school from when I was a child, and it was just never. It would never worked for a multitude of reasons
Yeah.
until I kind of took my power back 5 years ago. And one of the things that happened when I went to art school is I started reading all these historical works that cleared a lot of things up for me about why the medical system is the way it is.
Yeah.
I mean, colonialism, white supremacy, sort of covert white supremacy. I'm not talking about really like obvious, Nazi behavior. I'm talking about we live in a culture of colonialism where, it's a hostile environment for everyone, and white males included. I mean, everybody's in a state of survival, right? And if you end up in a psych unit, you're basically stepping back in time as far as medical principles. I read this book called The Yellow Wallpaper, which is it's a short story. It's almost like a code. It was written by a woman who was possibly queer. She was a writer. I think it was in the sort of mid to late 1800s. She wrote, have you heard of that book, The Yellow Wallpaper? It's fascinating. If you're a woman who's been embroiled in the mental health world at all, I was going to say field. I don't mean field because I don't mean working in mental health. I mean like a patient. It's really worth reading and unpacking because this woman, she was a writer, she was an intellect, she was queer, she wasn't normal kind of mainstream type of person in the mid 1800s, and she was hospitalized by this Dr. Weir Mitchell, who was one of the early psychiatrists before they had the word psychiatrist. He was one of the forefathers, I would say, of psychiatry. And he wrote this book called Blood and Milk, I think. He devised this thing called the rest cure for women. And it was for women that were just thinkers in any way. If you were in any way not sort of quiet, demure, all dressed from, covered up in a long dress, and those, if you were in any way different, if you wanted to wear pants, let's say, you were given this rest cure because you were thought to be crazy. And they shackled you to a bed in a pitch dark room, and they spoon fed you a mixture of blood and raw milk.
Mhm.
And they gave you what would have been early psychiatric meds that had things like arsenic and cyanide and things like these tablets they made. This woman, Charlotte Perkins Gilman, wrote this story called The Yellow Wallpaper, which is sort of code for her experience. She couldn't come right out and write sort of like a nonfiction telltale about her experiences with being given this rest cure. And so she wrote this code short story about a woman going crazy and the wallpaper sort of coming alive because of the way she was kind of put into this induced psychosis from being trapped. And it was so eye-opening for me. I was like, well, there's the origin story. And not much has changed.
When was the last time you were in a hospital like that?
6 or 7 years ago. Okay, so yeah, there was 6 or 7 years ago. There was that one where I didn't take anything, but somebody caught me and reported me, and that was the time that I was handcuffed and taken in a police car. And then there was the next time that I overdosed 5 years ago.
So well before we talked.
Yes.
Okay. So you've seen some doctors over the years.
Hmm.
Almost sure your question diagnoses, the DSMV. I think you probably have a lot to say. I know you do. Are there
Hmm.
any diagnoses that you think are accurate?
No, not mental health diagnoses. No. Actually, I recently was diagnosed with CPTSD, and that one does, but that's not really a mental health diagnosis. In fact, I don't even think it's in the DSM.
From your hairstyling days to your mid 50s, generally speaking, I mean, like, do you work? I know you have at least one child.
Yeah, I got married when I was 24. I had
Mm.
2 kids by the time I was 32, a girl and a boy. I have always worked in the arts, even though I just have always gravitated back to the arts, even though I wasn't allowed to go to art school by my parents or my husband. And I raised 2 kids off and on, kind of working, teaching art, working in art supply store, just different things. I worked in the arts. Then I
So,
got divorced
mhm.
in 2011.
At some point after 2011 in your divorce, like at least 10 years after, you find me.
Yes. So, okay, yeah, right. I found you. I had a pretty serious attempt where I overdosed, and I was in hospital, and that was during COVID. So that was a whole other interesting thing, which I think is in our episode as well.
Okay.
Yeah, they couldn't find me a room, so I was in a merge for a week on a cot, and that was a major turning point. Like I hate saying a term like this, but it was almost like I guess what you'd say a spiritual awakening, where I was just like, the world is so fucked up. I have to somehow do this differently. I have to, and it was like an intention, and then from there I thought, I don't think I'm ever going to be. Up till that point, I had thought there's got to be a way to cure my suicidal ideation. I was
Mm-mm.
sort of obsessed with getting rid of these thoughts. It was like a gnat always in my life. And it was at that point where I thought, I'm never going to be free of these thoughts. This
Mm-mm.
is part of my psyche. And but I'm going to have to learn a different way to live with them. And that was basically kind of what I did. But one of the things I thought, well, maybe if I stop being ashamed of the thoughts and actually just talk about them, maybe I should start a podcast.
Ooh,
That was my thought, was that maybe I could help myself and others.
I want some competition. Let's go.
But like I said earlier, I'm not really a talker, and I'm not a and I yeah, it's scary. At that time I was still filled with a lot of fear about having any kind of public persona, or just being seen. I was terrified of being seen.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, that was one of my thoughts, was that maybe I should start a podcast. And then I started searching to see if anyone had a podcast about suicidality. And I also had a lot of rage about how silenced we are. So yeah, so all that. And then I found yours, and I binged listened for a long time, and then I reached out to you, and then we talked.
Since we talked, I know there's a couple questions I have about the experience of speaking with me as best you can recall it, and then a little bit more about like the last 2 years. Okay. Did you listen to our episode when it came out?
Oh, yeah. I think I listened a couple times. Yeah, yeah, I had a weird experience where, like I was just saying to you earlier, I think the theme of this conversation is learning to hear my own voice, I think. But I had a weird, I think I might have even listened a couple times, or like listened to chunks a few times, because what I felt coming out of my mouth was, is that true? Is
Mm.
that true? Like these things I was saying, it was almost like I was listening to another person talk about my life. And I do feel a little bit more alignment now with that. The things that come out of my mouth are more real, more
Mm.
more aligned with who I really am. But when I listened to our episode, I was like, I don't know. I mean, I was nitpicking, I was nitpicking myself and thinking, I don't know if half that stuff I said is even true.
What
Or,
you mean, like facts, or just ideas about things?
yeah, it was just a weird out of body experience. Like the event, like I was like, the events happened that I told you. I'm not a liar. Like I wasn't
Uh,
making things up, but maybe the way I said them, or it's such a strange, I can't quite correlate why I thought that.
Do you know if anybody that you know personally has heard that podcast episode?
No, I don't think so. I don't, like I say, I don't really have deep, close, intimate relationships with anyone.
I know
I
because
honestly,
people suck.
I know it's
Yeah, I mean,
true.
yeah.
I might have told my therapist, and I don't know if she listened. I actually told my therapist about the work you're doing, because I said, this is so essential to people that are living with, and not just suicidal ideation, but any kind of inner self-destructive, unprocessed shit,
Mhm.
which I think so many of us have, from especially those of us that are maybe Gen X. We grew up in such a weird shoulder season of human evolution, don't you think? Like we were we were shouldering the time when children should be seen and not heard, that sort of Victorian sensibility where children don't have a voice at all. But we were also moving into this technological age of communication and information. We're bridging that time,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of us Gen Xers are just in a state of absolute confusion. And
Yeah, well, that applies to me, so it probably does apply to a lot of others. I know you said earlier, before I hit record, that you shared with your therapist that you were going to be on this podcast with me again. Did your therapist get the point of the podcast?
yeah, I think
Good.
so. She agreed about having, like, talking. She
Mm.
agreed that like the only thing that can come of holding these things inside yourself is shame, and shame leads to more of that, leads to more of the same, leads to more self destruction.
Yeah.
Shame is the root of all of this.
People kill themselves all the time. Yeah, that's right.
That's what it is. And
No, but if we know that to be true and then we keep doing it, then you're saying you don't actually give a shit if people are killing themselves. That's what that means. A plus B equals C. That's math.
right, like if you don't get to talk about it, then you're
So a lot of people
disposable.
say yeah. I mean, it's just the way I think. You can't say you give a shit about people not wanting to harm themselves, and then not letting them talk about it. You might be miseducated, which I know is coming from a very sort of slightly, well, more than slightly condescending perspective, though I'm right. But you can't say that and then silence them and shame them. You don't get to do that. It's like you don't get to say, I don't want to be an asshole, and then just say whatever you want and get away with it because you said you don't want to be an asshole. Suicide's not going to completely go away. Let's stop fucking kidding ourselves. It never has, it never will. It's a dumb idea. But if you want to reduce pain and isolation and fear and shame and silence and feeling shitty and feeling alone, one thing you do, one of many things you can do, I only do one of them, is letting people talk about it. You know who sucks at letting people talk about it? Almost fucking everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially people in the profession that
Yeah.
are supposedly helping us. I'd love to share. There's two things I really want to share. One is that the thing that has been so life changing for me living with these thoughts, because like just riffing on that, what I said earlier, that these realization that these thoughts are never there, that they are actually a part of me.
Mm.
So I found out about this, and I'm pretty sure I shared this in our episode too, but I'll share it again because it's just becomes more profound the more I work with it, is what's called parts work or internal family systems. Because what I realized was that this voice that was telling me to kill myself or ruminating on this sort of any varying degree of that idea was just this part that I'd exiled, this part of myself that I'd exiled when I was really little because it wasn't acceptable to my family. And that this part was not ever going to flourish or evolve by me hating it or being ashamed of it. The only way it was going to just sounds so Pollyanna, but hopefully it kind of gets the point across. But the only way for me to live harmoniously with this part was to love it and to learn more.
That does sound Pollyanna.
I know it does. And I'm sorry I don't have another word. I don't even like the word love anymore.
Whoa. We have got a memoir title. I don't even like the
Oh.
word love anymore.
Okay, no, I have a memoir title, which is the second thing I want to share with you.
Oh, wait. Who decides? Let's just start with who decides that. Also, riffing on fill in the blank is also kind of a cool idea for a memoir title. Like we're just riffing on suicide or riffing on.
Yeah.
No. I was mostly kidding about the Pollyanna stuff. So you have to love. We could put that in quotes if you want. This part of you, and the part of you you're talking about is the part that sometimes wants to kill yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cause harm to yourself.
Yes, exactly. And this to somebody who doesn't really understand parts work, this is also going to sound crazy, but I'm just going to say it anyway. I have a whole bunch of parts in me that were exiled at certain times, like the part that was exiled when I was SA'd.
I know this is tender territory, but when you said SA'd, that's referring to sexual assault, right?
Yeah, okay. I prefer that. I've just been in the world of social media too long now. Yes. I mean, I'm just giving examples, like things happen to you in your life and you're the only way for your mind to cope with these horrible atrocities that happen to people in our lives is to split off for survival, right? But what most of us never know, or we think, oh, that means I have multiple personality disorder or some other label that we were given. But what it is we have to go back and find that part of ourselves that was shamed, that was that was put off, like that was cut off, that was like squelched or whatever. We have to go back and know that part. And it's dark and it's painful for a little while. But I would say it's much less dark to go back and get to know those parts than it is to carry them around like a backpack full of rocks.
There's a couple things that come to mind. You're right. People will associate it with multi-personality disorder or schizophrenia if they don't know what that word means, or
it's not what I'm talking about. But having said that, I do think the science is evolving now where they're starting to question that maybe these pathologies actually are wrong. I'm always like sort of out ahead with these things like, come on, you guys, catch up. Did you not know that if somebody's severely traumatized in their developing years, of course their psyche's going to split off into parts? and become whatever, schizophrenic, dissociated, whatever. Maybe these parts, these pathologies that people have been saying someone has. And also, what about neuroplasticity? Like, we do have the ability to grow and heal and change,
Yeah.
but humans have been
Altered?
pathologized and then out to put it like sort of siloed into a label, over medicated
Yeah.
and numbed out and never been treated for the original.
It makes a doctor's job easier in some ways. Do you think you can do parts work alone, or do you need someone helping you do that?
I think it's really, really awesome if you find a therapist that's trained in internal family systems. There's a book called No Bad Parts, which is really worth reading. And Dr. Richard Schwartz has tons and tons of videos and podcasts and things out talking about it. So if people are interested in starting doing some of it by themselves, you absolutely can. You're going to get way further if you're working with somebody who is trained. If you're living in this black and white static world of get up at 7 and go to work and eat lunch at noon and da 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 da, da and you're living this inhumane grind that we've been told is life, you probably won't remember because there's no space. There's no space in that world to pull those things back into your conscious awareness. But if you start to rebuild a life that is much more made for humans, where you can walk barefoot on the ground and you can have some free space where you're allowed to wake up at 3 a.m. and have have a memory or whatever, like if you are allowed out of the cage, you will remember. You
What's the
absolutely will.
memoir title?
Okay, my memoir title is Pancake.
Wait a second. I mean, I know I almost kind of cut you off there. What do you mean pancake? And I've got a lot of thoughts about this. Give me more.
Okay, so my mom used to tell this story about me, that I was the first pancake,
Mm,
that I was disposable, that I was unpalatable.
okay, I need a subtitle now.
That's what I'm trying to work on. My subtitle, I should have pulled that up before because I actually have been writing.
Pancake sounds like something you really like that the public won't understand. Are you trying to sell it?
I don't know. My mom is still alive.
This just became a business meeting.
And I think probably like most people who write memoirs about childhood shit could relate to how locked a lot of this stuff is. Like I'm having a really, really, it took me getting really angry and free of my mother now as a sort of this. It's weird when your parents age and all of a sudden you're angry at a little old lady.
Yeah, but if I'm not talking about your mom, but like a bitch is a bitch.
Yeah. So anyway, that was my entry point into my
Pancake because you were the youngest and you got the pancake and
I was the oldest. I was the first pancake. There's a weird little, I don't know if that's, I'm so curious if other people have heard that. I'm thinking like first pancake or just pancake and then with a tagline. So violent mother, absent father, something like that.
Violent mother, absent father, something, something. You want a power of threes.
I had the craziest, my dad died of Alzheimer's 4 years ago. And a couple years before he died, it was actually right around the time when I had that attempt. And I was staying with my parents, and my dad had that kind of like sundowners in the evening. And I was sitting with my parents having tea before bed. And my dad did not know who even my mom was his caregiver, but he didn't know who she was anymore. But he never forgot who I was. And he turned to me. This is like a completely non-communicative father. Like he never said, I love you. Never, like he just was really, really absent, not available. But as with the Alzheimer's, I got more of my dad's true essence. So he's sitting there and he turns to me with this intensity and he says, I owe you an apology. And I said, oh, what? What, Dad? And he said, I am so sorry. I didn't protect you from that woman. And then he just stopped and looked off into the distance again. And my mom went, and she's never mentioned it again.
I think you just found the beginning and the end of your book.
It was an otherworldly, it was like the weirdest, I don't know. It was like he was channeling something because he was really not there anymore.
Yeah, but it's not. He is, but he isn't, but he is. That
Yeah.
didn't come out of nowhere. Other people couldn't have said that, and it wouldn't have made any sense. He said it to you about her. That's not like, monkeys making Shakespeare. That's a real thing.
It was almost like a life review in an instant for me because I thought, first of all, I thought he knew,
Yep.
he saw. But I mean, like as I was growing up, when I was little, he knew, he saw what I was going through.
Yeah.
That was what flashed before my eyes. I was like, you fucking knew and you didn't do anything.
Did it make you more angry or less angry or neither?
It's such a mix. It was like at first I had this, my heart was huge. I was like, oh my God, you've been carrying this for 55 years. You've been carrying this guilt and shame and
Yeah.
fear of, like, imagine a man being so afraid of his own
Oh,
wife
yeah. Right.
that he wouldn't step in to protect his child.
I see that happening. Like, I try not to be judgmental. I'm like, because if people be like, "Oh, you're so non-judgmental on your podcast," I'm like, "You have no fucking idea how judgmental I am." These are limits of words and ideas. This space, your life, I can be completely objective, but I can look at people doing things without knowing everything and being judgmental as fuck. This is another limit. This kind of has to do with what you're talking about, but not entirely, in terms of like the way we categorize things, the way we label things, the way we're supposed to do things. It's like humans are pretty fucking complex. You can love somebody and hate somebody, maybe, depending on how you define that word. I can be super open, objective, curious, and maybe even compassionate for 90 minutes on a conversation for this podcast and be a complete fucking prick in other parts of my life. And if you think that's not a reality, that's a you thing. That's you being, working at a 7th grade intellectual level. That's what Sean thinks today. I'm feisty today, Carrie. Question, do you ever, my feelings won't be hurt, listen to this podcast?
I haven't recently, but I do. I do off and on. I'm going to school right now and my brain is mush from just art history exams. And
Think there were any negative experiences because of or after speaking with me, specifically because of me or the conversation? Really?
oh no, it's been only positive, very positive.
How often do you ideate?
I would say daily, but I
Okay.
have a very, very different relationship with that voice. Very different.
Yeah.
It has no power over me anymore. It's just kind of like it's like a chihuahua barking.
Oh, but those are the worst.
I love chihuahuas. They're my
Oh,
favorite.
sorry. This conversation might need to end right now.
I love them. I had a chihuahua that was the sweetest.
No. All right. So there's a barking, but you can handle the barking as opposed to trying to take overdose.
Well, I fell in love with the chihuahua, and I learned what it needs. I learned how to like love it, feed it. This part of me that was lost a long time ago that decided suicide was going to be an option is the chihuahua. It's not me.
What's a way to love it and feed it if it's verbalizable?
Like to stop and find quiet is huge. And then like kind of almost, it's weird to explain, but it's like a sort of meditative leaning in to that part rather than going, shut the fuck up and like getting busier and running harder. And like, maybe if I work harder, it'll shut up. No, it's a stopping. It just like, I don't know why this chihuahua thing is really making sense to me right now, because
Right.
if somebody's knocking at the door and you're living with a chihuahua and you just keep ignoring the knocking at the door, the chihuahua is going to get more amped up, right?
You do not need to tell me. So I was going to
Okay.
ask what shifted about how you think about suicide, including your own suicidality or your attempts. You've kind of partially answered that, but is there anything else?
Yeah. I think the biggest shift for me is not seeing myself as someone who's mentally ill or who has a diagnosis. I don't see myself at all that way anymore. And I actually think the people that so-called treated me or diagnosed me or whatever are a bunch of losers.
No, because that's just so like plainly put.
Yeah. I have zero respect.
Right.
I have only disdain for psychiatry and kind of medicine
Yeah.
as a whole now. So that's been really freeing, been really like, and I honestly, legitimately think you guys are all so dumb that you don't see it. Because once I saw it, it felt so easy and correct. I was like, how can you not see this? It's right in front of you.
Yeah. But then they're just going to say you're crazy, Carrie. You sound like a crazy one.
Okay. All right. I'm crazy.
I mean, I'm not saying you
In
are,
the
but
best kind of way.
they're gonna say that. And by the way, that nice painting behind you, it's red with a flower. Is that? Did you make that?
Yeah.
Well, god damn it, you are an artist. Not that I'm judging. I have no taste in art, but that's good. And there's a couple other pieces behind
Thanks.
that one. If I were to do like images of people or things instead of my logo for each episode, I'd be putting, well, I'd start with your face, but you'd probably say no to that. But I'd be putting that nice flower up. I don't
You know
have
what? I struggle with consistency. Like, I'll write obsessively for a week and then I won't look at it again for 6 months.
it probably won't make you feel any better, but I don't think that's uncommon.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the only consistent thing I've ever done in my life.
Oh, you're so good at
I mean,
it.
other than like taking a shit and breathing, like, I'm beyond biological things.
Yeah.
This is literally the only thing I can say I've consistently not quit. That feels kind of neat. Are there, we might have touched on this. So only share these if there's like a glaring, glowing one about myths or misconceptions since we talked that you want to dispel.
I thought about this last night because I remembered this question, and I think it's still the same, um, which is maybe evolved a bit though. And that is that the sort of trope that people say, well, if you're in trouble, you should just ask for help. I think is very, very dangerous. And that's even evolved for me. And I think,
Yes.
help is just such a loaded word. And like, you'd have to unpack that for a year. Like, what is help? Where does the help come from? Who's been educated to help?
Yeah, let's break that down a little bit, okay? So just ask for help. Just, because it's so simple. Ask.
Yeah.
What do you mean ask? Like, I understand what ask is. There's a question mark at the end. Usually you raise your intonation at the end. I know what a question is. And what am I asking? For, we're going to give a pass because it's just like a connector word. Help.
Mhm.
Just ask for help. Do you think there's some big group of human beings like 2 blocks away at a large conference center who are all emotionally mature, can handle difficult conversations with compassion and love, and they're just waiting for you to ask for help? Please tell me where that little meeting room or conference center is. What city, country, town, province in the world does that exist? Because if it does, I'm moving there. I have a question for you that's probably unanswerable, but how do you think that we got here? Like, how is it that this is the way these days? I kind of am confused about it all.
Well, I think it's capitalism is what it is. It's just always
Okay.
defer outside. Don't look inward for your own wisdom, your own answers. The person who knows you best, the person that's living inside of you, under these heaps of trauma and messaging underneath, that is the only entity that's ever going to be able to help me. Is
Let
that
us
in
let us create a culture of outsourcing expensive empathy.
it's capitalism.
Mm.
It's a prison.
I know you don't talk to many people about this when it comes up, so I'm going to kind of skip that question. Okay, unless you want to say there's one or two people.
Like people that ask for help.
No, who do you talk to about your dark days?
I don't. I mean, I was seeing a therapist regularly for a couple of years, and I don't see her very often anymore. And then I had another really troubling some sessions that were gifted to me. It was like a new person who just finished studying to be a therapist, and I did that for a few months, and it was horrible again. And it was just another reminder for me of, oh no, that's not going to help me. That's not where I need to be. Just this very cookie cutter textbook. If you're not doing it this way, she kept telling me to do exposure therapy. And I was like, what the fuck do you think my life is? I'm going to university at 59 years old. My life is exposure therapy. And
You're around.
things like that, those kinds of things to me are like, you don't see me, you don't listen to me,
Yeah.
you're just regurgitating some shit that you learned out of a book because you think it makes you sound smart.
I think if I saw 100 therapists who all practice like different kinds of models or practices, I genuinely think within 30 seconds I'd walk out with of 98 of those ones.
Yeah. The therapy that I do if I feel, really sort of in a state where I need another person in my realm, I do more what I guess you would call somatic, like breath
Yeah.
work, things that help me sort of get out of my head and back into my body, feel my body, because I have chronic pain and migraines and stuff. So sometimes I really do kind of dissociate. And
Well, we
so
don't have.
I
Yeah.
see a breath work person, and she's also trained in parts work. And she's
Oh,
the
really?
only therapist I've ever had that.
You have someone who does somatic and parts work? She does Zoom? Does she does Zoom?
Yes,
Is she expensive?
I don't know if I should say this. She prorates for me because I'm low income. I don't know if she's like compared to what. I
Yeah.
think she's I think she's a little over $100 Canadian an hour. So for you guys, that's like $5.
No, yeah, I'm broke. But anyway, maybe I can trade something.
She's phenomenal. She does more, not talk therapy so much, because talk therapy really I think it just keeps dredging up the same old shit.
Isn't that I mean, I what I don't do is therapy, but isn't all what we're doing on the podcast is just talking?
Like, I think if you go to somebody if I think if you go to somebody and you have an hour to see this person and something's really distressing you, and you're really in the pit of despair and you just keep talking about it, you're just continuing to create
Yeah.
a narrative that makes it real. But I think what you're doing is allowing somebody to sort of have a voice for those things that we often don't get to talk about. I don't know. It feels different to me.
Yeah.
And you're also not providing any solutions therapy. You're not in a position of authority kind of thing.
Well, I
I
do have
think it's different.
there is a solution. It's not a solution, it's an idea. I think maybe Chihuahua might find a place in your memoir title somewhere. I don't know. That's the extent of my advice. One of the questions I rarely ask, but I've been asking it more. I don't know. So the question is, what would you tell yourself back at this point in your life? I don't know the point in your life I want to pick. Like if you had one suicide attempt, I'd probably be like around that time, or if you had, but you pick a point that you feel is important. And are there any words? We're fucking with time with this kind of question, which is why I don't always like it. It just does. It's like Back to the Future movie, weird. Like, but is that something you want to answer? And if so, what age are you talking to?
I think I'd go back to that time when I got sent away to hairdressing school and just run away from everybody and
Mm,
sort of be the weirdo that I am and not try to fit into the package that they wanted me to be, this sort of normal person that follows a conventional path. I would go back to that and say, be a fucking weirdo and go to art school and don't worry about money because it'll come. Like just go do the thing that you need to do. Just go. Because when you're young, you can like couch surf and you can be poor and you can
oh,
make art from, the stuff you find in the alleyway. But you've got to, it's not about what you're doing. It's about developing that sense
mhm.
of individuation, like that Jungian sort of idea of individuation when you're sort of late teens, early 20s, I think is so essential. I was robbed of that time in my life because
Really? Right.
yeah, so many of us, right? Like you were told you had to
Oh, yeah,
do a certain thing, be a certain way, look a certain way.
yeah.
And it felt so consequential. Like, I don't know why more of us didn't rebel against that.
Some tried.
The people that rebelled against that, like that sort of became artists and
Yeah.
became revolutionaries. Those are the people that I admire the most, the sort of
Yeah.
Bob Dylans of the world, the people that
Yeah, or
spoke
even
out.
like people that did it that aren't famous, but like they did it in their own small way.
Yeah, yeah, you don't have to be famous or anything, but I mean, like, go individuate, be yourself. They don't
Crazy.
these people that you call your family, they probably don't have your best interest at heart.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'll tell you what. I'm north of 50, and even yesterday, I put my iPhone, I put my headphones on, got this weird hip hop song. I keep binging. I'm out there. I'm in Mexico City. I'm some gringo. I don't live in a really like a gringo neighborhood, and I'm like walking to the gym, and I'm moving. and nobody else is. And what bothered me is there was a little moment here and there where like, ooh, what are they going to think? And I'm like, fuck that. Like, and that's the thing. You gotta
Yeah.
fuck that. There are consequences, but at 50, you don't give a fuck.
There's consequences for committing crimes. There is not consequences for being yourself.
Well, there's some social norms, then people push back, but it's not worth it. It's a price usually worth paying.
I honestly think that the right people will come back and find you if they're meant to, and just go be radical.
Tell me,
Go be wild. And I am now, but it took me 55 years to get here. Don't like I'm just talking to somebody who out there, I'm talking to 20-year-old Carrie and saying, go be a fucking wild witch out in the world. Do your
listen,
thing. Make fucking art.
yes, make art. And now that I have you in this space, in this energy, here's the question: pick A or B. A, pancake weirdo, or B, weirdo pancake.
I don't like either of those choices.
God damn
Sorry.
it! I'm retiring. The old Carrie would have said one of the two. New Carrie says, I don't like either.
Yeah, that's so true. That's
Right?
true. You bring out the best in me, Sean.
If we talk again in 2 years, is anything different in your life? You'll probably be finished with art school, maybe?
I'll be graduated with a bachelor's degree in fine arts.
Congrats.
And I don't know, shit's starting to happen. And we're in the year of the horse as of tomorrow, I think. I'm covered in goosebumps right now. This is meaningful. We're moving into the year of the fire horse, which only comes around every like the element and the
Yeah.
zodiac only
Fire
comes around
horse.
every 60 years. And I'm turning 60. So this is my fucking year of all the years in my life. This is my year.
I've never been alive from fire horse.
Right.
This is starting tomorrow?
Yeah. Settle up.
God damn, I gotta get drunk. Oh no, I didn't.
Yeah, no, don't get drunk. Don't get drunk. Go out there and see Mexico. I want to be in Mexico City for the year of the fire horse. Maybe I have to make that happen.
All right, listen.
Oh,
Yes or no, will you listen to this episode?
yeah. I feel like this is a really different vibe from the first one.
2, pink and purple pill. Do you remember what you said then?
I don't. I think I said I would keep it.
For a rainy day type thing?
Yeah.
If you had kept it, would you be alive today?
Yes.
What would you do with it today?
I don't need it anymore.
You want to get rid of it?
Yeah, I'll get rid of it. I don't need it anymore. That feels good to say.
I want to hear how I want you to tell me what it feels like to hear it when it comes out soon, this episode.
Yeah. I'll write you a letter. Because I this feels honest. You know how I said I felt like it wasn't true. I didn't know who I was when I was listening. I feel more in myself now talking to you. I feel this feels way more honest and real. And
I can't imagine what 2 years is going to be like. Damn. In 2 more years, you're going to be like
yeah,
beyond. Do you think there's a question I should ask you or other update guests or even original guests that I don't ask?
this is such a probably the most difficult thing for people to address, but it's something I think about a lot. And that's that. Why do you think we're so afraid of death in our society? And then when people have suicidal ideation, it becomes like one of the absolute worst, most silenced, shamed processes that the human mind can experience. Because I'm honestly in a new place where I think death is sort of just like a process of recycling. And I don't actually think death is that big of a deal.
Right. Well, can you answer your own original question?
I think it's just like a program. I think it's a false program that's been planted for a long time as a form of like dominance and control, which makes me sound more like a conspiracy theorist, which maybe I am a little bit. But there's a lot of conspiracies that are coming true right now.
So if I told you you had 3 months to live, how would that sit with you?
I'd be fine with it. I just make a lot of art, like a lot
Yeah.
of art, which I'm already doing. That's all I do now is I just make art all the
What?
time. I sleep maybe about 5 or 6 hours a night. The rest of the time I'm writing, painting, poetry.
I have sleep issues, so when people say they can get by with 5 or 6, I hate them. But besides that, your art clearly is a lifesaver for you, and that's not me putting words in your mouth. That's an obvious one. But like, what's your main materials?
Well, I'm doing like at school, I'm doing printmaking, screen printing, like silk screen. And I also do a ton of painting, acrylics, oils, mixed media, collage. I do a lot of collage.
The paint and then the murals, not the murals, the canvases, doesn't it get very expensive?
Yeah, I'm actually living on student loans right now. I think ever since my last suicide attempt, I've had this really strange, oh, maybe it's not strange. I've had a completely different outlook on money. And I don't know, I'm living in an alternate universe because I was able to find a subsidized apartment, which is right at the edge of a lake. Like, I don't even know how this happened to me, but like I came out of that suicide attempt almost like a near-death experience where I had this ability to like live outside of the norm systems of money. And like I'm paying $380 for rent right now. And it's a nice place. And I live like at the edge of a lake where I can walk by the lake. I'm like a 10-minute drive from the university. I've been getting quite a bit of money for student loans, which because of my age, I don't think I'll ever have to pay back. I don't like systems that I don't like these systems of imposition. I don't like yeah, I mean, we could go on about that, but yeah, I don't like that. I don't participate in, I mean, I'm going to school, but I'm doing it in a really otherworldly way. It's a reclamation of that 20-year-old that wanted to go to art school. I'm like stepping back and healing that part of myself that got violently dismissed from having an identity.
Yeah.
I'm reclaiming my identity.
Sometimes when I'm about to say goodbye to people, I ask them what they're going to do with the rest of their day, but I don't need to do that with you because I know what you're going to do.
Yeah. I'm going to the studio.
You are going to make art
all day and then all day again tomorrow.
That's commitment.
Right?
That's the 10,000 hours. That's master level shit. And even if it's not, it's passion level shit. It's more than a passion. It's like what's the word? It's like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if there's the right word, but it's like life something. It's like,
it's in the flow. It's in that other zone. Like I stepped outside of the matrix, I guess, for lack of a better word. I don't really have a word for it, but I did step outside of it.
Yeah. Like some people, when they would say that, I'd be like, okay, sure.
I roll.
Like, no. I think she's 100% accurate. She did. I really don't.
I really think that energetically we're in a different time right now where people are coming back to themselves and like doing that alone. I just see that so much.
I get lonely as fuck, but I just feel like it sounds so cliche, but I'm like,
the loneliness isn't going to be solved with another person though. That's the thing. That's the lie.
I don't know how much time I've got left. I got to focus a lot on myself, and I hope to make it out of it. That's it. That's my life. Dance a little bit and try to figure this stuff out. Otherwise, it ain't working. It's not.
Yeah.
I don't have methods, man. I don't think of it that way. So like, more likely to be homeless than fucking dead, but.
Send me a message anytime, like a WhatsApp or whatever. Thanks, John. Really appreciate you. You're amazing. Wish I was in Mexico City and we could have coffee.
You name the time and we will meet for not just a coffee, but probably several coffees. Enjoy your art making today, Carrie.
Okay, bye.
As always, thanks so much for listening and all of your support. Thanks again to Carrie for speaking with me again on this update episode. Thanks, Carrie. If you are a suicide attempt survivor or ideator and you'd like to talk, please reach out. hello@suicidenoted.com. Check out our website or nose around Spotify or Apple or wherever you listen to this podcast to learn more about what we do and how you might want to get involved. Mostly, the most important thing is that you're here and you're listening. So thanks very much. And that is all for this week's episode. Stay strong. Do the best you can. I'll talk to you soon.